And the whole time frame of the project was so brief. Maybe you can just break it down from start to when you were done. It was not a long time, and not even rehearsal time and stuff like that.
That's right. We arrived, I think Matthew Good and I landed on Friday night very late. We had a Saturday in which we were able to get our costumes, and I mean, just that would panic most people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people want to get their costumes fitted and adjusted 6 weeks before if they can, at least. And this was a couple of days. And for someone who's got a reputation for being a micromanager and a control freak and all the things that might be thrown, it was pretty relaxed. And then, you know, hair, makeup, whatever, and Tom would show up in the makeup trailer saying, it was always, whatever you want, I'll let you do it, you know, to the makeup people and to us. Little moment around a table on Sunday. Monday we were on set, we were shooting, and, you know, 21 shooting days later it was done.
It's amazing. And was there a time when you guys sat together and said, you know, discussed a backstory or anything for George, or was this something that you were set free to, you know, come up with yourself? I mean, beyond what was on the page.
It was all about being set free.
Mm-hmm.
There was backstory, but it didn't come in one lump. It wasn't as if Tom said, okay, you know, it's going to be backstory morning and we're going to go through that. That could happen when you have all the time in the world in a disciplined environment of a particular kind. Tom just calmly allowed things to seep in, and it happened in things he said. Tom was interested in, he was very interested in why everything was just so. He was interested in why George could dress the way he did. You know, there was a critic, an English critic recently, it was a typical prosaic complaint, which is, well, where's he getting the money from? He's got nice suits and a nice car and a nice house. And, well, Tom had decided that he had some money. It's not inconceivable. He's a college professor who's gone to Los Angeles to live, and he's got a bit of private money, as would Christopher Isherwood have had, because he was a very famous writer. And this is autobiographical, or semi-autobiographical. Although George is not a famous writer, I don't think it's untrue to the source.
Not at all.
So, you know, Tom would have details like inscribing, you know, having the name embroidered inside the shirts.
Which we'll never even see, right?
So you don't see it, and it's not going to transform my performance by itself. But it, on a minute-by-minute or day-by-day basis, Tom would feed these things in.
Your parents, I learned, and again, I can't confirm this until I hope you will, but they were both lecturers in one form or another, and I wonder if that was something that was on your mind while you were doing it, or after you did it and thought about, you know, looking back at yourself, just visualizing yourself and, you know, looking at yourself in front of a classroom.
Yeah, I don't know when it came. I mean, I think like in the same way I just was saying, describing the backstory process. Things happened gradually and in a strange order, and sometimes it came in flashbacks after I did it. But everything was done quickly. I was nearly said hasty. That would have been the wrong because it didn't feel like haste. But things were done at great speed. But I think an awful lot was going on, and I think that's a particular magic that Tom has. He has this way of unlocking your imagination, and there are ways, and some of it's conscious, some of it's subconscious or semi-conscious, and you don't quite process it all at the time. And then afterwards, I found myself just haunted by this. And one of the images that did come to me was my father.
Who would have been teaching at the same time, right?
Yes, I mean, my father, frankly, if we're going to be exact about generation and dates, my father would have been very young in 1962. You know, I was born in 1960, my dad would have been closer to Kenny's age than George's. But nevertheless, he was teaching. He would have worn a brown tweed suit and a pair of glasses that looked a lot like those. And
probably was facially like you.
Looked a bit like me, of course, because he's my dad, and had almost exactly the same hair.
Amazing.
And there was something quite moving when it occurred to me that there was a similarity. You know, my dad's not suicidal and he's not gay, but he is quiet and he's thoughtful and he's dignified and he's highly intelligent and he's a lecturer and he has a certain amount of courage and a way to. I noticed this as I was growing up and my respect for him grew, and I noticed how much respect for him his students had.
Interesting. Well, the other thing you talked about bringing bring dignity to the character. You know, so often, unfortunately, when a heterosexual actor portrays a homosexual actor, I think for maybe just for whatever reason, it ends up almost
you get nominated.
Well, no. It's almost, it kind of can devolve into a caricature because, you know, of mannerisms and speech and things. But I think one of the things that people, critics, and even the gay community, rightfully so, have really complimented you, applauded the dignity that you brought to this character. And I think maybe people don't realize it's not the first time you've portrayed a gay man. I know Another Country, Relative Values, Mamma Mia, even, you know, different forms of genres or whatever. But do you feel added responsibility or added pressure in a way when you're representing a different group than you, or a segment of society than you yourself, come from?
It doesn't occur to me. I have no consciousness of it. I mean, it's funny. I've been so immersed all my life in people, because of my upbringing and the travel, where ethnic differences and religious differences and differences of sexual orientation have been so completely taken for granted. That's how I was raised. That's how I was weaned. I mean, this is not. There's no virtue in it. That's just how I was programmed, and it's a gift of my upbringing. Though we didn't have. I mean, my parents have their own snobberies, but they're not to do with that.
Right.
And they would probably be more. The snobbery would be more inverted upwards than to do with anybody who might be considered marginalised. But no, I mean, the first character I ever played, as you say, it was Another Country. He was a gay character. It didn't occur to me to play anything gay. I didn't even know what that means. There's such a thing as Queenie behaviour,
right?
Which, believe me, I know just as many heteros who are queens as gay guys. And if the character requires that, then yeah, you go for that.
Right.
I think the character in Relative Values was a little camp. But I think that was more to do with his wit and his sensibility and his playfulness than it was to do with the fact that he may or may not have been gay. It wasn't even explicit that he was gay.
Right.
So no, there's certainly. I mean, George would have been an absolute catastrophe to. I mean, it would never have entered my head to give him any attributes that was to do with any of those stereotypes.